Welcome to the Healthy Metal Hippie Podcast, where art and wellness collide. Well, hi, and welcome back to the Healthy Metal Hippie. Today we are here with Ricky Wilson. Ricky is the producer of Isiliel, which you've definitely heard a little bit of a lot about on this channel. And that's why, how could we do it without Ricky? So welcome, Ricky. Thanks for being here.
No, thank you so much for having me. It's an honor. It's not often that I'm on this side of the camera. I'm always on the other side. So it's fun because every time we're doing live streams, we do live streams in the same office space that I'm doing this now. And Himari says, it's, difficult because the camera's up here and the screen's down there. So I'm not sure which I should be looking at. And I'm like, yeah, I know that's gotta be tough. And I'm like, yeah, that's really hard.
It's nice to see you on this side of the camera, though, because everybody knows Himari, everybody knows Isiliel, but what about Ricky? Because you make everything happen, really.
For better or worse.
You put the magic together is basically what it is.
I try. Oh, I try.
Well, okay, so let's go back. So we met, I think, in 2023 in London.
3 years.
I know, it's crazy. Came to one of the shows, and then we started working together in 24.
Yeah.
Holy shit, it's 26 now. And
it
it's
is.
like, but obviously, you're clearly not Japanese. So you started out, you're American, right? California? Yep. No.
Right in the country, wrong on the side. Pittsburgh, actually. East Coast guy.
Sorry, I always fuck it up. I just think everybody's from California.
Don't worry about it. I'm not cool enough to be from California. So if I was from California, it'd be a lot cooler.
Well, you're actually very cool. So, and it's like you know what, we'll go back to that after. So, Pittsburgh. What sparked all of this? Where did you start? What were you doing in Pittsburgh?
So I was in high school and getting ready to go to uni, as it were. They said, you need a foreign language. And I thought, at the school, my high school, we had, German, French, Latin, Spanish. And none of those were really kind of hitting it for me. I was not interested in any of those. Looking back now, German would have been great. Latin would have been great. Spanish would have been super helpful. French would have been super helpful. But at the time I thought, I'm not interested in that.
Yeah.
What was I interested in? I was into anime. I was into tokusatsu. I was into all that kind of stuff that was just starting to hit the US from Japan at that time. This is 1997, 98, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I found a place where I could study Japanese and get some Japanese, base level understanding. It was a college near the high school I went to. So I would go to high school in the morning and afternoon. And then after that, I'd jump over to that college and just took that one course there. And I really liked it. I liked it a lot. So when I went to uni, I actually majored in film and Japanese. And then I did a study abroad over here. And then after college, I moved over here initially for a couple of years just to get the language skills up. And that was 22 years ago.
22 years ago. Oh
yeah.
My God.
It's been a long
time. I don't know
time.
why in my head I didn't think you'd been there I know a while, but 22 years is
22 years this August. That's insane.
It is insane. And so what were you doing? When you went over, you were working in film, or what were you doing over there?
Nothing nearly that interesting.
Okay.
At that time, and I think it's probably relatively similar now, if you were coming over from the US to Japan as a new grad from university, liberal arts, you weren't an engineer, you weren't a doctor, you weren't a lawyer, you were coming over with a little bit of Japanese and maybe some other skills. You taught English. So, you just kind of did that to get the visa, to get your foot in the door. And then you see guys who have been here 20 years and they're still teaching English. And they're usually not very happy. But most of the time you do that for a couple of years and then you move on. So I did that a couple of years, moved on to some business consulting, which I didn't love, but it paid really, really, really well. And then that big economic crash at, 2006?
8.
That completely killed that. So you were not getting any business contracting jobs after that for a while. So, or business consulting jobs after that for a while. So I pivoted and I was working in hobby, like toys and plastic models and stuff like that, which was something I actually liked, which didn't pay as well, but it was cool. So did that for a while. I started my own, not company, became self-employed as a figure producer for a couple of years. And then that sort of rolled into what I'm doing right now.
That's really interesting.
That was rapid fire, yeah.
No, I'm just like, oh my God, there's so many things that you've done. And I didn't know that it started with figures.
Yeah. I was working there's a very big, Japanese-based online hobby shop called AmiAmi. They're still around now. And I got a job there right at the beginning when they started doing international sales. So I was doing international customer support, translating products. That was probably 70 or 80% of what I was doing, was just sitting in front of a computer translating model kits. This is the Gundam Exia 175, 1/18th scale model kit from Bandai, stuff like that. So
right.
I was doing that for a while. I got into the sort of punk soft vinyl scene, which is like a kind of super DIY, make it yourself toy scene. And I was doing that for a while and it got really overwhelming and I stopped doing that. But I sort of just slid from that because I had been doing that on my own for a couple of years, for maybe 4 or 5 years, when I created Necronominal, which is the first idol group I made. And I just sort of, over 2 or 3 years of doing that, I transitioned from the figure stuff into full-time music production.
That's a nice transition, though.
It was interesting. I had this little studio with a friend. I was doing a lot of project management. I was doing a lot of prototyping. And so, now it's basically all 3D print. At that point, 3D print was just starting to kind of get good enough to use professionally. But what we did was we did wax prototypes, because to make soft vinyl, you've got to transfer the clay or resin or whatever, fiberglass, sometimes prototypes, into wax so they can make the molds, and that gets melted and poured out. It's super, super analog. It's a really analog, hands-on kind of production process. So I would just literally be in the studio for days on end, until 5 a.m, 6 a.m, just carving and polishing wax. Just literally taking these little tiny figure parts and polish. And you start to go a little crazy, right? Because it's just either just you or maybe you and one other person just either painting, because we did a lot of airbrush painting on the figures, or just polishing wax. Once or twice a week, you'd go out to the factory and talk to some 70-year-old Japanese shokunin kind of professional mold makers or paint mask makers. But other than that, it was just kind of you're in the studio the whole time. And you go a little crazy. So I thought, I want to do something where I get out of the studio. Whatever, I'll just make an idol group. I'll just do it. But so I was working for AmiAmi doing hobby sales, doing plastic models and figure sales online. And their parent company got a gig running do you know the show American Ninja Warrior?
Yeah.
The obstacle course show?
Yeah.
So they were going to do a Malaysian version of that. It was unusual because they didn't have a lot of international gigs. So I was one of the only international, I think I might have been the only non-Japanese employee at that time, at the start. We brought a couple on later on. But so they said, we need you to kind of help with this. And in the end, they did the program in Malaysia, but they also wanted to bring over Japanese musicians to perform kind of as part of this youth festival that they would be filming the game show at. So that had the obstacle course over here, blah, 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 blah. And over here, they would have a stage with singing and dancing or music or whatever. And so we took over Momoiro Clover Z and Shoko Nakagawa. So Momoiro Clover Z was a big Japanese idol group at that time. And Shoko Nakagawa is kind of a voice actress, model, television personality. She kind of does a little bit of everything. But that was my first sort of introduction to that idol world. And it was really cool. It was wow, this is interesting. This is 15 years ago, a little more actually. And there were all of these idol groups out then doing really kind of crazy things. It was like right when hyperpop started kind of hitting, there were idol groups doing, kind of riffs on like Tetsuo the Iron Man, which is like an old Japanese, like super underground, body horror film from I think it was either the late 80s or the early 90s. There were groups doing like 60s, like psychedelic garage rock. It was really crazy, because up until that point, I thought, idol groups, it's all just bubblegum pop. It's all just this really kind of light, like, mass appeal pop. But at that point it was a real kind of, in like the fossil record where they say that there are these kind of explosions of fauna. So it's like the Devonian explosion where all of these crazy sea creatures and like giant crustaceans and trilobites just kind of popped into existence at once. It was sort of like this fauna explosion in the idol scene where there was all this interesting stuff that just got born in, the matter of a year or two. And so I got into that and I saw some of these groups are just run by guys. It's not a talent agency. It's not like, whatever productions. It's not, whatever giant office. It's just a guy. It's some guy who used to be in a band or some guy who used to direct music videos, and they just made a group. So I thought, that sounds cool. Let's give it a try. DIY, right? Punk.
Hell yeah. Absolutely. Oh my gosh. So then how did you go about finding everybody for it?
For the members, there are like audition sites. So you make some social media accounts, but even then, you're starting from zero. So it was just completely starting from nothing. So it was just, you make a Twitter account, you start emailing people about writing songs. I went to Disc Union. I went in the heavy metal, like the super indie, like Dojin metal area. And I was like, this looks cool. This looks cool. This looks cool. And this is before Spotify, so I bought half a dozen CDs, threw 3 of them out, sent 3 emails to the emails listed on the other ones, and said, hey, you want to write a song for us? And, just kind of started that way. I just started reaching out to people. I put a casting call out on, a couple of those casting websites. Hey, we're doing, J horror, black metal, super underground idol group. We're looking for members. And somehow we got members.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
I have some of those records too, and they're so cool.
Let's say they're raw. For better or worse, they're a bit raw.
They are a bit raw, but I don't know. I think they're very cool though.
Thank you. I remember the first thing we ever recorded, it was like, I think we had 3 hours to record 2 songs, and there were 4 members. And now thinking back, it's insane. Like there's, I wouldn't even imagine it. And I think they did the mix right after that too. So it was maybe 4 hours or something, but it was like 3 or 4 hours to do the whole EP. Like the whole EP was done in, a long dinner, basically.
That's
crazy. I didn't know because before that I'd been in a couple of punk bands, but even then we only if we recorded, it was in a practice studio. We never did real recordings. It was some guy saying like, oh yeah, I can hook up my mini disc player to the mixing board in the practice studio and we'll just do like a 1 mic recording of the practice. That was our recording, so that was kind of my background coming from that.
So punk rock.
Yeah. So it's like 3 hours. Pff, we don't even need the third one. We'll be done in 2. Well, now I'm like, I want it to sound good. Like, I don't want it to sound at that point too. Like I was really coming from when I started the group, my kind of vision was, are you familiar with the old Killed by Death, bootleg vinyl compilations?
I feel like I might be, but I don't know.
There was a series of vinyl, like old punk compilations, that came out. I think it was in the 90s, mid 90s, maybe, called Killed by Death. And what they would do is they would take these like old punk 7-inches, usually 7-inches, that had only had 100 or 200 copies out there and were $1 million, literally $300, $200 for a 7-inch. And they bootlegged them because it was all out of print stuff. So they would just throw 10 songs, 7 songs on a side. And it was stuff from, the Midwest of the US, from South America, from Eastern Europe, from all of these countries, Northern Europe. And it was all this super, super, super obscure punk. And when I started the group, I was like, oh, I want to make the Idol version of something that would be on one of those compilations in 20 years. 20 years from now, I want this to be like, oh, did you hear this? This is really crazy. Like, this is just out there. And, they never got popular in the day, but right now, the record geek guys are into them. So this is not at all what I'm doing right now, but this is where I started.
Yeah.
This was kind of the impetus. So for me, 3 hours in the studio, it's like, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. Easy. Perfect. Yeah. So that disbanded a few years ago now. And
technically hiatus.
Okay.
Just let me put a little asterisk on there. Technically on hiatus, but we'll leave that as it is.
Right. Okay. So it's on hiatus right now.
Yeah.
And
indefinite hiatus.
Indefinite hiatus. Okay.
It's a very Japanese term, right? Very, very Japanese. It's indefinite hiatus.
That, I guess it's the thing of never say never, right?
Never say never. For better or worse, you keep a little bit of that flame burning.
Yeah, exactly. And now, so yeah, with Isiliel, then that started, oh my God. It started like 4 years ago now, right? Yeah,
we just celebrated our 4th anniversary. Yeah, like 3 weeks ago, we celebrated our 4th anniversary. Hooray, we're 4 years old. We're not babies anymore, we're toddlers.
Yay, toddlers. So it just seems to have like this really strong, but also really positive vibe around it. I think like a lot of it feels so much like embracing your darkness, but also finding your light at the same time.
Totally. So when Himari and I decided, or we're talking about making Isiliel, the group was very much, it was like H.P. Lovecraft, dark, void, despair, but it was also very theatrical, none of it was all kind of like a B horror movie, basically. And that wasn't the vibe that would really work for Himari Sola, because that's not really her vibe. She's not like a B horror movie kind of girl. Like, she's more interested in real emotion, real expression, like really kind of putting her heart on her sleeve, putting her heart on the line when she goes into things. And so we didn't want to have that sort of goofy, a little bit removed, like, in a lot of metal, there's a lot of metal out there where it's very serious on the surface, but you can tell people are having fun with it in the background.
Yeah.
And I love that. Like, I'm totally cool with that. But for Isiliel, it's really, it's heartfelt, it's really like sincere. I think sincerity is a very important word for Isiliel. So we wanted to do something really sincere. And like you said, kind of, it's okay to be in a dark place. It's okay to kind of be a dark person, as it were, but you still need to find your light. You still need to find your path, and you still need to hold on to hope so that you can kind of fight through everything life throws at you.
I think a lot of people find hope within it too, which is just, it's so nice, because, oh my God, we need more of that in the world.
Yeah. I mean, when we started out, there's a word in Japanese called ikizurai, and ikizurai means like, literally, it means difficult to live, but it's a way of saying like, you're not having an easy time in the world. Like, things just don't come easily to you. It's like, you got to really try for it. And you don't necessarily have an easy way of living. You've got kind of a difficult uphill battle for your life. And that's very much Himari. She's very much an ikizurai kind of, she's a very, very serious, she's very stoical, but she's also very emotional. And I mean, that's a hard line to walk, isn't it? To be like super stoical, super serious, super determined and dedicated, but also really, really like having a lot of emotional depth and a lot of emotional vibrancy. She's not like a robot when she's going into any of it. So we wanted to make music that would speak to people like that, people who were they were doing their best. They were doing the best that they could. They were working hard. They were putting themselves out there, but it wasn't easy, and things don't go the way you want them to go sometimes. And you get disappointed, or, people don't act the way they should act or treat you the way they should treat you. So what do? Like, what's your reaction to that? And those were kind of the people that we wanted to reach out for, the people who were not really having the easiest time of it.
You can see that with the fans, but you see that passion that obviously she brings to it, but you see the passion and the love that the fans bring to it too, and it's really, really beautiful to see, because it's like, it feels like such a deep connection between everybody.
It really is. I see that so much, because we've got Niken doing the music, and he does this really, really emotional, really, really heartfelt, really sincere, deep, complex, moving music. And then you've got Himari doing the lyrics, and she's great with words. She's really, really good at writing and expressing herself through writing. And so she's writing these amazing lyrics that kind of really mesh alongside that. And then, we get messages all the time. Like, she gets a lot of messages, DMs or messages on social media. I get messages even to our official email account from fans to say, I had this really hard time. I was struggling with this. I was struggling with that. And your music really helped me out of that. Your music really helped me through. Himari has shared a story a couple times of a fan who, she got pregnant. She thought maybe, I don't think I can go through with this. I don't think I'm ready to be a mom. She saw Himari live. She was really moved by her performance, by her show, and by the heart that she put into it, right? The love that she put into it. And she thought, okay, I'm gonna go through with this. I'm gonna give birth to this baby. And then a couple years ago, maybe 2 years ago, we were playing a show, and she brought her kid. And so Himari had a chance to actually interact with that child who, not only because of her, but at least in some small part because of her performance and because she was on stage that day, that life is in this world, That's crazy.
It is crazy. And I think it's gotta, if you have days that are hard to get through, and sometimes I'm sure, we all wonder, what the hell am I doing this for? Yes. It's got to be little reminders like that say, this is why.
Yeah.
Stop.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just calm down.
It really is, because you go on tour, and things never go to plan on tour, do they? It's it's very, very rare that there's not at least some kind of problems or issues. Yeah. You go into the studio, and sometimes you have a smooth day. Sometimes you don't have a smooth day. Sometimes you have a very, very rough day in the studio. But I mean, the most interesting thing about that, though, is a lot of times, those shows that don't really go to plan are the ones where you meet some of your most dedicated fans. Those recording days where things don't go as you thought they would end up being the takes that you use on the album. There's so many situations doing this where you see how are we going to get through this? How are we going to kind of push through this situation? But it's usually those are the days, those are the times where it's oh, I'm really glad we did, because something amazing happened because of that.
I love those moments that pop up and you're just this is why I do it. This is everything that's worth it. And, totally. Even this podcast, I put a lot of time into it.
Sure.
But when I get messages from people you know what, that was really a great message for me today, or I really need to hear that, or this, I learned so much from this person as a guest or whatever. It's yes. I love that. It
totally.
Just makes such a difference.
It does, because a lot of times, and Himari asks me a lot of times, she'll be why are we putting so much work into this and, we're not seeing the results? Why are we working so hard and kind of like putting so much time and effort into this, and the result that you hoped for, the result that you're looking for isn't there yet? And the kind of image I always gave was like, it's like a bucket. So you've got an empty bucket and you're dripping water into that bucket, right? And if you're looking from the side, you don't know how much water's in there. And so you feel like you're dripping water and you're dripping water and you're dripping water and you're dripping water and you're not seeing anything. But once you hit that rim, right? Once you hit the top, it starts overflowing and then it's just out the sides. So I feel like with so many things in music, especially, that's the way it is. I mean, social media is not my favorite thing in the world, and I don't think it's the most important thing, but it's important to be doing. It's important to have, and it's important to take seriously if you want to be doing music in, the year of our Lord 2026. Like, you can't say, oh yeah, we're going to be a completely non-social media musician and hope to achieve anything, because you need it. Like, even if you don't think you need it, you need it. And Himari was grinding and grinding and grinding and grinding on social media for years and years and years. And, few more followers, few more interactions. And then a couple of years ago, it's like the floodgates just opened, and, she got, I don't know, like 10,000 followers in a week. Even just I looked at her followers this morning, and it had actually been kind of a slow period because there was Twitter was like culling a lot of spammy accounts and a lot of unused accounts and things like that, which it's like, you think, oh yeah, no problem. But if your followers are going down, it feels bad, right? It's like you're working hard and going to your job every day, but you look at your bank account and it's going down. And you're like, that's not right, right? Like, that's not the way it should work. So it's that kind of feeling. But then I was looking at her followers today. I'm like, I think you just got 2,000 followers in the last day.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And it wasn't even like anything big. There wasn't like a huge, giant thing that happened, but it was just kind of, sometimes it just, boom, just kind of hits. Yeah. But it's like, you don't see that at the beginning, right? And it takes so long before you get to that point that you just need to grind and grind and grind and kind of keep the faith, right? You can't give up.
Yeah. We all know that's so hard sometimes. It's just to keep going when it is difficult, but believing in what you're doing, you're right. You keep filling that bucket. And once that bucket's full, and it starts to overflow, well, you just can't stop it then.
Yeah, it just keeps going. It keeps going. There's a podcast I really like, and they don't talk about mental health and things like that regularly, but they do sometimes. They hit on it every now and again. And they had a quote that I really, really liked that kind of was what pushed them through some tough times. They said, the only way out is through. So like, if you're in a hard position, if you're in that tunnel, it's like, you just got to keep going. You keep pushing on until you get through, because it's like, it's just the only way you're going to get out of there. And for me, that's really important. Now, obviously, in some situations, you do need to say, I'm out. You do need to say, it's too much. I can't do this. I don't want to do this. This isn't healthy. This isn't sustainable. Obviously, there's situations like that, but there's a lot of situations where it's just like, you just got to keep going.
There's those situations where there's no progress, or it's always backwards no matter what you do. But even if you're seeing those, like you're taking an inch forward through that tunnel, then you're getting through it. As long as it's aligned with you and your values and,
exactly,
and what you want to do, then fuck yeah, go.
Totally.
Go. It takes a lot of mental toughness.
It really does. And, working with Himari, like working with somebody who's so, in a good way, I mean this very positively, as an artist, sensitive, she's a sensitive person. She really feels things, and she really, she takes things to heart in a good way. But, you're online, right? And it's like, even if you do everything perfectly online, sometimes she'll be like, why did somebody reply to this post with such a with this kind of message? Or why did somebody send me this kind of DM? You know, I didn't do anything to them. And it's like, because you're online, because they're fallible human people. And there's a lot of people out there who just, they lack empathy. They just care about, you know, kind of shaking the boat or kind of saying what they want to say. And it's not, there's no consideration for the person on the other side of that message. You know, I heard that the really dangerous thing about social media and about kind of the current information AI age we're in right now is we're starting to make machines into humans and humans into machines. You know, look at humans like machines, basically, and look at machines like humans, where it's like, this is an actual living, breathing person. They have feelings. They have agency. They, you know, have trauma or personal issues that they're bringing into this, and not being able to consider that. And then looking at, you know, AI chatbots and being like, I love them forever.
I know. I don't know. That's a whole other thing. I'm like, people marrying their AI chatbots.
It's a little weird.
How often do people care more about their things than about the people around them?
Totally. And you see this a lot. You see this so much in music. You see this a lot in Japan. There was a really interesting, this is something Himari told me about. There was a manga that got adapted into an anime. And the anime was super popular, and there were a lot of international fans who got into it. But the manga was a little bit more rough around the edges, and it was kind of boys' love. So it was dealing with kind of gender identity, LGBTQ kind of issues, and some foreign fans were into the anime, but then they read the manga and they're like, oh, I don't like this. You know, I don't know the details, so I'm not going to take a stand on whether what was in the manga was correct or incorrect. I don't even know what the root issue was. But what they did was they went on Twitter and on social media, and they started just annihilating the creator, just really, really attacking them. Really, really terrible stuff, like really bad comments. And the creator was just like, okay, I'm out. Sorry, guys. That was not my intention, but I'm done. And they're gone. I don't mean gone from this world, hopefully, but they're gone from that creation. They're gone from social media. And they've, at least at this point, said, I'm just not going to do this anymore. You know, I'm out. And, you know, we can see there's a lot of media that I look at and I'm like, I don't love that. You know, I don't necessarily agree with that. But I think that in almost all cases, the person writing it or the person creating it has the right to put that out there. You know, it's not for me to say, you know, obviously if something is like spreading really dangerous untruths, that's a different story, I guess. But, you know, in almost all cases, even if it's something pretty vile, it's, you know, freedom of speech, right? Like that's the American me coming out, I guess. But, and even if you don't like it, there's a lot of ways that you can express that without basically forcing that person into non-existence, you know, without kind of like pushing them off the entire internet.
Yeah, I think it also, stuff like that, where people are being attacked so violently online, it stops people from putting things out there. It stifles creativity. It stifles
It's
art.
a chilling effect. Again, you know, do I agree with everything out there? Not at all. Like there's a lot of stuff out there that I think is detrimental or maybe not positive or not great. But, you know, there's a lot of things that I like that other people are probably like, that sucks. I don't like that. That shouldn't be out there. So free world, right? As long as you're not hurting anybody, as long as you're not infringing on other people's rights or physically or mentally damaging somebody, oh, go for it, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of ways to say that's not cool without blasting somebody into the nether sphere.
No, exactly. Exactly. I think, and that's part of being online too, is like we lost a lot of that actual human connection. Like, you know, all these people, if this person was standing in front of them, there's no way they would say anything like that. Not a chance.
This is long in the past, but I've literally had fans go online, say some really, really, I would say, at the very least, unpleasant, inappropriate, rude things on there. And then I would see them at a show and I would be like, hey, how about that thing you posted online a couple of weeks ago? You want to talk about that? You want to have a dialogue on there? Like, no. I was joking. Or no, it's no. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. I was drunk. It's like, okay. All right. And again, not confrontationally, not like, hey, what were you saying? Like, you want to talk about that? Like, I get that you have a problem. We're here right now, two adults. Let's talk about it. And like, nope. Don't want to do that. I gotta pee. Okay.
I hope that made them think twice about posting shit like that in the future.
You would hope, but
they don't get called out enough, right?
They don't. But a lot of times too, it's like, if it's online, there's a record. If it's face to face, there's not a record. So it didn't happen.
Right.
For those kind of people, they're slippery. They're very slippery. And there's always a kind of way to weasel out of it, right? You misunderstood. You're taking me out of context. Oh, really? I'm taking it out of context. Okay. But one of the wonderful things, the absolutely wonderful things about doing Isiliel is, honestly, like, the fans that have gathered around Isiliel are so positive and so heartful and so kind and so just really good people. Really, really good people. I couldn't tell you the last time something like that happened. I mean, this was years ago. It's been really, really great to see that. And I think that's because, Himari is putting out positivity. And when you put out positivity, you get back positivity.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, and she's quite open about, especially like, I think on Twitter, especially, right? Just about everything that she goes through and, how she feels. And people want that realness, and they want to be able to go, oh, you're this amazing idol and you feel the same way that I feel. And it's just, there's something so comforting about that when you're a fan, you're going through hard times and the person you admire has felt the same way. You're just like, I'm not alone.
I 100%. And, we talk about social media. We talk about, what to put out there, what not to put out there. And a lot of times, it's not like I'll say, don't put that out there. Don't write that. She'll come to me and say, like, I feel like I want to put this out there. Do you think that's appropriate? Do you think that's something that should be out there? And 9 times out of 10, I'm like, yes, I express more, put it out there. And that 1 time out of 10 where I don't say yes right off the bat, it's like, I think that's great. Let's think about how we phrase it. Let's phrase it like this, or let's phrase it like that. Let's just kind of polish it a little bit, because, there's so many people with so many different, histories and pasts and experiences out online. And, sometimes you really need to think about how you put things out there, because you might mean it in a really, really positive way. And the person reading it, it might not translate that way. So you really need to kind of be cognizant of what you're putting out there and kind of how you're saying things.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever stopped her from putting something out. I think it's always like, yes, more. Because at the beginning, she was like, she didn't really want to put a lot of talk about, maybe mental health issues or struggles or things like that out there, because she thought it would be a burden. She didn't want to worry the fans. She didn't want people to be concerned about her, because she thought, I should be out there encouraging. I should be out there building people up. I don't want to make them worry about me when I should be kind of a voice of strength or a voice of positivity for them. But like you said just a moment ago, there's a reason that it's difficult for people to identify with a character like Superman, right? Because you look at somebody like that, they're a god, right? They can do anything. They have all of these powers. They have all of these abilities. They have all of these options. And you think, well, I don't have any of that. I don't have this. I'm not strong like that. I'm not able to do this or I'm not able to do that. And so I think showing vulnerability is actually really important. You want to be wise. You want to be like, intelligent about how you do that. But I don't think the answer is not showing vulnerability.
I completely agree. I think that takes a very strong person to be able to do that too.
It's scary.
Yes, it's scary to put yourself out there like that.
It's really scary. It takes a lot of courage, because there will be people who say things you don't want them to say or say things that you wish they hadn't. 100%. If you put it out there online, there will always be somebody who says something that you didn't want them to.
And then what about you, Ricky? How do you take care of yourself in all of this? Like, you are nonstop all the time. Like, you handle everything from front to end. And
a lot.
Yeah. And so how do you take care of yourself and make sure that you have a full bucket in a different way?
I'm one of those people where I'm just kind of a naturally positive person, and that doesn't mean you're positive 100% of the time, 24 hours a day, but that's kind of like your default setting, right? Is it'll work out. We can make it happen. We can get through this, it'll be okay. So I think that's one of the biggest things. And that's just kind of how you're built, I guess. That's just how you're put together. But like sleep, like getting a good night's sleep, I found when I was in my 20s, a little bit younger, a little bit more wet behind the ears, you just kind of say, we'll just go a day, 2 days, 3 days without sleep, muscle through, keep grinding. And at that point, I was doing a lot of stuff where like prototyping work, painting, project management kind of stuff. As long as your hands are moving, as long as your eyes are moving and your hands are moving, that's okay. That's enough. That's all you need to do. Just keep moving. But now you're dealing with things where you have to make decisions, right? And you're dealing with people and you're dealing with personalities and, all of these other kind of things coming together. And it's like, if you're not getting enough sleep, I can feel myself getting dumber, right? Like yes. I can feel my mental faculties going down in direct proportion to how little sleep I've had. So, I can pull an all-nighter. I can go 2 or 3 hours if I need to, but, I really try and avoid it because I can 100% see the negative effects and it's not good. It's not positive. So just kind of making sure, eating. I would like to lose weight. I'm a little bit thicker than I would like to be right now, but also just kind of getting those carbs in there, not going overboard, but like getting some veggies, getting some carbs, making sure that, you're getting your nutrition in there and not kind of starving yourself, because that's another one where it's like, yeah, I can just feel like I'm not a very temperamental person. I'm not an angry kind of person, but it's like you go long enough without food and it's kind of like you start to get a little touchy, you get a little hangry, right? Exactly. And that's not a position you want to be in when you're forging the way. It's like I've seen people, especially I've seen people on tour who just something doesn't go their way, somebody says something they don't like, somebody does something that they don't agree with, and, the fireworks are going off in the background, right? But I never want to do that because it never gets you anywhere. No. It never gets you anywhere.
Nobody has time for it anyway. Just to have a little snack. What's that commercial, right? Should have had a Snickers or whatever.
Exactly, right? Get a little bit of sugar, get a little bit of, glucose in there, and you'll be all right.
Protein kick.
Yeah, something, right? Just something in there. Since we're talking about mental health, can I talk about one? This is heavy.
Yes, please.
We were on an international tour, and the person who was helping us set that tour up had put a show together for us. And it was us, it was another Japanese artist, and it was a couple of local artists. Japan, everything runs on time, right? It's all clockwork. So if you're supposed to be in the venue at 5:00, you're in the venue at 5:00. If sound check starts at 6, sound check starts at 6. If you're sound checking 6 to 6:30, maybe a minute here, a minute there, but literally a minute here, a minute there. It's like, it does not go beyond a minute or two. at this show, everything was kind of running late. People were late getting there. People were late setting up. One of the groups had taken a really long time sound checking. Obviously that's on them, right? Like they received the timetable. They knew what their times were. But a lot of international groups, it's like, it's loose, right? And it's like, if doors get pushed by an hour, doors get pushed by an hour. Like that happens all the time. I don't like it, but it happens all the time. But the guy who'd been setting the show up with us, he laid into him and he was like, you guys are taking way too long. This is really unprofessional. You're messing up the whole show. Everybody's going to suffer because of this, and now we don't have time for this. We don't have time for that. So you got to cut your set. Your live set. You got to cut your set down. I'm only, you had 40 minutes, but you had 20 minutes over on rehearsal. So you got to do 20 minutes. And the guy in the band was really, really like, oh, you could see it. Like it was like a gut punch to him, right? It's a real gut punch. So the show goes on, at the end of the day, it was kind of fine. There's not any big problems after that. I really didn't like the way he handled that, but okay, it is what it is. I've seen that happen more than once. That band was friends with the other Japanese artists that we were touring with, and they got a message a couple of days later. The guy from that band, he ended his life the next day.
My God.
Obviously, I'm not saying it was because of that, right? I'm not saying that was the only reason. That was 100%, the one thing that happened to him that caused him to do that or to take that action. I don't think that at all, but it didn't help.
No.
Like, I don't think that helped at all. And so that really, really made me think about how you interact with people on tour, on the road, how you interact with people in your day-to-day life, because you never know. You have no idea. You have no idea what that person's going through. You have no idea what their mental state is. You have no idea what their yesterday was like or what their tomorrow is going to be like, And if you can treat them with respect and kindness and kind of that feeling that like, hey, right now things are fucked up, right? It's not where it should be. It's not good right now. Let's fix it. How do we make it better? How do we overcome that? Okay. We can do a little bit of this. We can do a little bit of that, but we're all on the same team. We're all here, for example, to make a good show, to put on an amazing night for all the fans. So everybody has a great time and enjoys themselves. And, it's a successful event for everybody involved. But it's like, you can't lose sight of that, and you can't give in to that kind of, the Japanese word is like aseri, like pressure, like, that lack of stability in your own heart, right? Like that kind of like, oh, what do I do? Stress in yourself. Can't give into that, because you never know how that's going to reverberate in the people around you.
It's true, because tiny little impacts, right? I mean, I'm not saying that was a tiny thing either, but they lead to big things happening, right? Whether that's positive or whether that's negative, if they've got all the negative and you're adding a little positive, you're helping bring the negative, hard stuff away. I always that's one of my big things I always talk about is I like to try to leave people better than I find them.
Yes, and totally.
It's like sometimes, sometimes I'm not perfect. Sometimes I'm dealing with shit and my brain is swirling, but I don't. So sometimes I'm not, yay, but I don't think I'm mean to people, but.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I've got my good days. I've got my less than good days. I'm far from perfect. Far from perfect. I am reminded of that every day, but you make the effort, and you kind of keep that mindset because, I can even remember just the other day, it started raining when I was on my way to the supermarket, and the older woman running the register was like, "Why'd you forget your umbrella?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it started raining when I was on my way." She's like, "Oh, that sucks. Hope you can get out of the rain." I'm like, "Thanks." Super, super minor thing. Like literally super minor, but you remember it, right? And you think, that was a nice human interaction. That was a moment of human kindness where she didn't even do anything for me. She just was like, "Oh, that sucks." It's like, thanks. It does.
And that's it. I think that's it too, is sometimes people just like acknowledging like, wow, you're stressed, or wow,
Yeah,
you're stuck in
totally.
the rain. That sucks for you.
Yeah,
But
totally.
I hope it gets better. And you're just
Exactly.
somebody cares enough to hope that things are better for me.
That's it. That's it, right? I mean, you're either building people up or you're tearing them down. So I would rather be building than tearing.
I do think you're quite good at building overall, though.
I endeavor to be. Again, I got my good days, I got my less than good days, but endeavoring.
Endeavor. That's a good way to be, though, right? We try our best every single day.
Totally.
So there's lots of big things coming up for Isiliel this year.
Yes.
Like just a few. So do you want to like give a little rundown of what you're ready to tell everybody about?
Right now we are working on a new EP. So this is kind of an interesting one. This is going to be the Isiliel and the Lilin EP, and it's going to be goth. We're doing some goth.
Yay!
I'm really excited about how this is going, because the lead single off of that EP is actually a collaboration with the old German underground film Necromantic. I've been working with the director and also the composer for the film. So Jörg Buttergeit is the director. And so we're working together with him, as well as the composer, Johnny Boy Walton, on utilizing this song Ménage à Trois, sort of taking the French as well, from Necromantic and kind of reworking that into an original song for Isiliel, with a huge amount of help from Niken, because he knocked it out of the park on this one. It's really good. It's really good. There's going to be some more songs on the EP. There's going to be a goth version of a classic Isiliel song. That's coming up on there as well. That comes out right before we start the 2026 World Tour, which is starting at May 30th in Tokyo. So depending on when this comes out, that might be in the past, that might be a week in the future, but May 30th is going to be in Tokyo. And then we are off to Europe.
Yes.
So we've got shows lined up June, July. We've got some really cool stuff lined up. I just found out that Germany is going through, so I'm excited about that because I was pushing. France, Norway, a couple other countries, and then that leg of the tour will be wrapping up in the UK with, I hope you don't mind, this is already out there, starting with your wedding.
Yes, starting
Congratulations.
with the wedding. Thank you.
Huge congratulations.
Well,
so
I guess
starting with
you.
your wedding on the 23rd, and then the big show at the Underworld on the 26th.
Yeah.
And that is going to be kind of the finishing of that chunk of the tour.
Yeah. Well, you've got a big UK kind of weekend, right? So it's the 23rd is at HMV.
24th is the wedding.
24th
23rd
is the wedding.
HMV. 24th is the wedding.
Don't forget the wedding. Yay. At the Cart and Horses.
At the Cart and
obviously, legendary Cart and Horses. And then legendary Underworld Camden on the 26th.
Yes.
July, that weekend. Whew.
Yeah.
It's going to be a big one.
A big weekend. That's going to be a big weekend, but I'm really looking forward to it. That's going to be a fun one. That one, I'm not stressed about that one. That one just sounds like it's going to be a good time. We just need to figure out what you're going to have Himari wear at the wedding, because she's been asking me.
Oh my God.
What do you want me to wear?
Oh my God. We have to decide. I'll send you a secret picture of my dress.
Okay.
And then we can figure out what she should wear.
Right. Got it. And I will not forward that to Niken.
No, he already told me that he's like, I don't want to see it before, but I'm like, but it's so pretty. And
well, it's like, you've got both sides, right? You've got both sides. Like sometimes it's like you want to kind of bounce the ideas back and forth. Sometimes it's like, nope, this is what we're going with, and I don't want to see it.
Yeah, I know. Oh, I'm really excited.
It's going to be awesome. It's going to be super
it's really
awesome.
Pretty, and it's going to be an amazing night.
Nice.
So,
that's going to be cool.
Yeah.
Really looking, and Himari's really looking forward to that. She's really looking forward to it.
Me too. And I just, everything. This summer's going to be killer for so many reasons.
Yeah, I think it's going to be awesome. I'm still stressing on a lot of the other stuff. The stuff you're helping with, I'm not stressing on. I'm stressing on the other stuff.
Yay. I'm going to put that in a good reel. Look, see, live review right here.
Ashley stuff, no stress. Everything else, stress.
I love it. Well, I love it for me, not for you.
It's par for the course. I'm another image. Himari says I always talk in too many examples, which is true. I do that too much. But I'm like, you ever see those blobfish, the like really ugly looking deep sea fish that look kind of like a melted candle? They don't look like that in the water. Like in the water, they look pretty normal, but it's the pressure, right? All of the water pressure at that level of the ocean that they're in that holds their bodies together. So if they get drug up to the surface and all that pressure's gone, right?
So we need to keep you under pressure.
Right. So
is that what I'm hearing?
You too much pressure is not good, but too little pressure also. So you win a little bit.
So keep the right balance, and that is the key. Exactly. Is the balance.
I think so.
So if you had one thing to leave the fans with, what would it be?
We actually, we had a really strenuous recording session that lasted a couple of days. And we just finished up last night, and it was a difficult recording session for us. You know, it was hard. It was not an easy recording, and it was not easy for Himari. So I really appreciate the work and the faith that she put into doing that, and the kind of guts that she put into it. But it was for the new version of Jodo Dokusho. And in Jodo Dokusho, the end of the chorus says, you know, even on the darkest night, the light of the moon will still be there. And I think that's what I would want to leave you guys with. You know, even if things are really dark, even if the sky is completely clouded, you can't see, there's no stars to guide you, there's no light from the moon shining on your way, just keep going, because it's still out there, it's still shining. Keep believing in it, and those clouds are going to pass, right? Those clouds aren't going to be there forever. They're going to dissipate, and you're going to see a beautiful, wonderful starry sky. I still remember we shot a live stream in Death Valley in the US, which is in the middle of the desert. It's really, really hot, super crazy, intense part of the desert. And it was at night, and we shot a live stream there, and just like the sky, the stars, and like the immense beauty of the sky there, it hits you, right? It's like a sledgehammer. And just know that that's above you all the time. Like that's above your head every day. And so even if you can't see it, it doesn't mean it's not there.
It's true. It's so true. Thank you for that, Ricky.
No, thank you.
Where's the best place to give a follow? You've got YouTube, all the Instagram pages, and you've got your own Instagram now. It's so exciting.
I've updated a total of 2 times. I need to get on that more. That's the other thing. Himari's like, you need more output, more output, more output. It's like, you're right. You're 100% right. Yeah, but it's consistency, right? It's being consistent with it. So Instagram, I'm probably on X a little bit more. I've been trying to at least post on there more frequently. But yeah, all of those places. It's always
we'll
just
put all the links.
Thank you. It's always just at Imperiet IV. But thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Love it. Well, thank you again for being here today, Ricky. I've had a blast.
Me too. Really my honor to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you. And we will chat very soon.
Good. Sounds good.
Thanks so much for joining us on the Healthy Metal Hippie podcast. For more ways to connect, go to www.healthymetalhippie.com.